Ladies and gentlemen, not too long ago, a judge denied the request by Sussman, the third indictment within the Durham probe special counsel. The third indictment. So there was Kleinsmith, the bureau attorney that falsified information and deceived the FISA judge. There's Danchenko, the Steele subsource, the subsource of the Steele Dossier, one of the sources that completely fabricated and made up everything because they were paid to do so. The DNC and the Clinton campaign literally paid for a dossier. When people say, Trump was the worst president, it's like, well, you're ignoring record low unemployment, and you're ignoring foreign policy achievements like the Doha Agreement that Biden completely botched, and you're ignoring the Abraham Accords, and you're ignoring Trump being the first president to step foot in North Korea. You're ignoring all the accomplishments, hundreds of thousands of new manufacturing jobs. Wealth inequality was decreasing under Trump. It's increasing now. So you're ignoring all his accomplishments, and you're just focusing on the apoplectic, oftentimes hysterical media barrage that Trump had to experience every single day. Just the other day, they lied about a story. They said there was a 7-hour gap. That was because of landlines and cell phones, and NBC News is still running one of the articles that they ran prior. They're still running an article that says that there's a 7-hour gap. It's already been explained through landlines and cell phone use pertaining to January in the panel. So anyway, when you look at what they did with the Steele Dossier, they set up and framed Trump. And the person who allowed this, who took advantage of all of this, was James Comey. If you defraud the people of the United States of America, 18 U.S. Code 371, all you need is 2 or more people within that statute. I wrote about that in the Federalist. You can go H.A. Goodman Federalist, and you could see the articles that I wrote, one of which was Comey and McCabe should be charged under 18 U.S. Code 371 because they conspired to defraud the American people. And it wasn't just them. It was Clapper, Brennan, a whole bunch of people. Okay? All the individuals that Trump named in his lawsuit, that Carter Page has named. Carter Page is suing James Comey, in addition to Donald Trump. The Durham probe is looking at Comey and others. And I believe ultimately they're planning to indict, or they're going to try to indict James Comey. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. We are almost at 196,000 subscribers, ladies and gentlemen. Tell your friends, hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel below in the pinned comment, and read my Federalist article on the upcoming stock market crash. That's below in the pinned comment. Ladies and gentlemen, James Comey, under oath, stated he did not know the Steele Dossier was purchased by Trump's direct political rivals. Now, when people say Trump went after his direct political rivals, that's hilarious. That's the only thing that happened to him. The projection is unbelievable. Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, all of them didn't have to sign a memo saying, we are going to take down an incoming president. Signed intelligence agents and people who were literally paid by Clinton and the DNC. And I want a Clinton-Trump rematch in 2024. That'd be the best thing to ever happen to the country. It really would, for a number of reasons. Well, that's another story. They literally purchased a myth about Trump. There's an Alpha Bank myth. There was a Steele Dossier, Trump-Russia myth. Okay. There just recently completely debunked story that people were saying, oh my God, it's worse than Nixon and the 18.5 minute tape in Watergate. They just published endlessly stories that, news reports that he deleted 7 hours of tape. That wasn't true. I talked about that on this channel yesterday. Then they said he cleared Lafayette Square. That wasn't true. Everything from fiery but peaceful. That wasn't true. Mostly peaceful. That wasn't true. I mean, you could say things like that, but you're circumventing reality. They did that all throughout Trump's presidency, and they had to lie. He never said both sides in the context and within the meaning of, praising the horrible, monsters. That wasn't the context. In fact, he condemned them. Okay? Almost everything that media told you about Trump is false or misleading or a lie by omission. Now, there are things that Trump did. His personality or his words, he provoked the media. He took basically a bat and started bashing this beehive or this hornet's nest of apoplectic media and liberal sensibilities. But he didn't deserve to get framed and set up. It all emanates, or the top of the food chain is James Comey. He's the one who has the goods on everybody. Now, if he gets indicted or if he's close to indicted, he'll probably just give Durham all the information he needs to indict everyone other than him. Or a plea deal. Or some kind, or just miraculously or coincidentally, information on a whole bunch of other people before it gets to the former director of the FBI will be in Durham's hands. James Comey already stated that he would testify against McCabe. That was on CNN. Comey said that, well, you know what? I didn't know, this is under oath, the Steele Dossier was purchased by Clinton and the DNC. This is, of course, a lie. A similar lie to Sussman not telling James Baker that he was, working on behalf of Clinton or getting paid by Clinton. See, the interesting thing is that when the Washington Post and others, when they look at this story, they say, well, gee, what was the quote? It was worth a healthy look as to whether or not he was actually installed by the Kremlin. It wasn't a healthy look. It was a 4-year obsession, including a close to 2-year special counsel, where 7, 8, 10 people had their lives overturned for no reason at all. Those people were indicted, about 5 or 6 or 7 people were indicted because they were set up and framed by the people who tried to set up and frame Trump. The problem is they couldn't get Trump, so they got those people in terms of public relations victories for allegedly lying to the FBI about a certain date or deleting a Facebook account as obstruction of justice. Could you imagine? Madam Secretary deleted 33,000 emails plus. And then you have all of media conspiring to prevent discussion of Hunter's laptop and emails. And then you have one pundit who was on a fantastic show yesterday, and I mentioned this a little bit in a segment prior to this one, that says, well, CNN is it's not liberal. In fact, this is a left-leaning pundit. Says, oh yeah, in fact, they try to marginalize Medicare for all. It's like, what are you talking about? CNN, first of all, Democrats won't even vote for Medicare for all on the floor of the House. They won't even vote for it. It's a racket to get left-leaning voters to vote Democrat. They promise, and then they lie, and then they say, well, the Republicans are worse. It's a complete racket. Okay, it's so easy to see. I saw this. I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post in 2016. And the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. Okay, you could read my writing at that time in The Hill, the Huffington Post, Salon, the Jerusalem Post, recently, Federalist, other publications at hagoodman.com. So I know that Democrats can't even have a functioning primary. They cheat all the time. Okay, they cheat Bernie Sanders all the time. They'll cheat him forever. But see, the thing is, you have to ask yourself, when they say Trump's the worst president, horrible president, they lied every news story about Trump Jr. getting emails before everyone else, tipped off on emails. No, that wasn't true. Trump clearing Lafayette Square. No, that wasn't true. Trump recently with a 7-hour phone call gap. No, that's not true. All of these things are not true, but they get people to believe. Then they say, well, Trump pressured people. He should be indicted under 18 U.S. Code 371. Clinton asked China for Trump's tax returns with Maddow years back. Okay, they do the same thing as Trump, but they don't there's no outrage or indignation, because a lot of the Republicans up until recently didn't support or didn't defend President Trump. You had Paul Ryan type people who were actually fine, Richard Burr, who were actually fine with Trump getting set up and framed. But when you have the director of the FBI, when Trump first became president, intimidating an incoming president, saying, "Oh, we have this unverified dossier. We're going to bully you and we're going to intimidate you, and you'll have a shadow cast above your presidency." Yeah, Comey is going to. He's either going to get indicted. They're either planning to indict him. They're looking at ways to indict him, or he'll give the goods on everybody from McCabe to Strzok to Clapper and Brennan to maybe Madam Secretary, that won't affect her campaign in 24, I don't think. But he has the goods on everyone. That's why he wrote the Comey letter. He covered up the Clinton email probe, said, there was no intent, wrote the Comey letter, said, hey, I have everything on you. Then he went to Trump, told Trump, I have a Steele dossier, so I have things on you. So the man has something on everybody, but he's conspired with others, didn't have to write a letter. They all did the same thing all at once. It's not going to be difficult for Durham to find this out. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. I'll be back in about 3 or 4 hours. Be here in about 3 or 4 hours for a very, 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 very important segment. Thank you.